Sup? This is Greggatron. How are y'all? I would say, do you like my shirt, but you can't really see it. You like my jacket? So, I guess it's Black History Month. And my whole thing is, I'm black. And even I'm sick of Black History Month. Do we really need to celebrate Black History Month every February? Even now, in the day and age 2025 we live in? Like, what are we celebrating exactly? They say history, right? But how are you going to celebrate history based off of one particular people? Like, don't black people come from all over? Well, they say it's Black American history, but there's blacks who contributed to America who didn't come from America. And furthermore, I just want to know what we're celebrating. For example, we can't even have like a Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. event without black people fighting each other. In every street with his name on it, there's like bullet holes inside the street sign. But if you're going to celebrate something, why not at least celebrate the individual? How are you going to celebrate a whole group? It just doesn't make sense. It's ridiculous. And it's just old. And mostly, we've been lied to about so much stuff. Like, when I think Black history, I think a lot of the stuff of what we were taught in school. But a lot of that stuff we were taught wasn't even real. Like, it was a lie. We've been lied to. The communists pushed race division in the South during the 50s and 60s to kick off the civil rights movement. They created that division to make people think in the newspapers, oh, there's so much racism down here. But in reality, no. From what I've seen and heard, well, I guess not seen, I wasn't there, right? Race relations were actually going very well in the South. And all my family members who are older, the baby boomers and older, I never heard them complain about the South. So my point is, this quote-unquote evil white man from back then, where was he? Where was he? But again, with the communists, what they were doing, they were going around burning churches and burning people's homes and all kind of stuff. And then the newspaper would say, oh, it's white supremacy, it's racism. But there was a white supremacist, I guess he was like a leader of the Klan. He was asked, did y'all do this? And the guy was like, nah, we didn't do this. This wasn't our doing. So if the KKK, quote unquote, hates black people so much, why wouldn't they admit to burning people's stuff down? My point is, everything is fake. Like, yeah, I'm sure some stuff happened back then in between races. But for one, it doesn't affect anybody now. And two, just why even acknowledge it? It's like, not only is it like ancient history, but it's half of it is false history. It's a farce. It's like everybody we've been taught about, it's all false. Or they'll take the good from some people and then they'll leave all the bad stuff out. So they don't really want you to know the truth about some of these people and about some of the history. I mean, Martin Luther King Jr., he's the prime example. Because when I was a kid growing up, everybody looked at him like, you know, he was the man. And people still do look at him like that. But now with more and more stuff coming out, it's like, man, this man was no different from me and you. This man had his flaws like me and you. This man had problems like me and you. He was just this guy, but I think he was used by the communists. But I don't know if he knew he was being used by the communists. I don't know if Dr. King knew what would happen to black people after the civil rights movement was over. In the sense that I knew he knew about Lyndon B. Johnson because he was in the White House in and out. But I don't know if he knew the results of the Great Society and the war on poverty. I don't know if he knew it was going to put black people in the government's palm in the way it did. I don't know. That's why I say I think the communists used him. Because that stuff runs so deep. I mean, Chad Jackson, he's digging deep into this stuff. But it's like, no one really knows how deep that stuff runs. My point is, prior to the civil rights movement, black people had their own businesses. Right? They had their own bus lines, banks, schools, all kind of stuff. Property. Well, then the civil rights movement came, and black people were convinced that we need help. So the government said, all right, we'll help y'all. The only key is you can't have a man in the home. And they fell for it. As a result, the black man got taken out of the home, and these women have all this welfare and food stamps and EBT, which stands for everybody's taxes, and all these programs. But as a result, things have only gotten worse. So that's why I say, why are we celebrating this? Because there's nothing to celebrate now. What are we doing today that's worth celebrating? Somebody please answer me that. It's like I see black people always twerking and committing crimes on the news. It's like every young black woman I see is always shaking her ass. And then these quote-unquote thugs who get into it with the cops, they'll say the cops are racist, yet they get into it with the cops anyway. So if you think the cop is racist, why are you fighting him? And then when something bad happens, they'll say it's police brutality. So again, what are we celebrating? I just don't get it. The culture now, and black people used to have a really good culture. The culture now is just so out of whack that probably when white people see us, they're like, I want to know what white people think about Black History Month, like every February when it rolls around. Are they just like, here we go? Or are they like, what the? But I used to work with this white guy. He was like almost 60, pushing 60, might have been 60. February rolled around, and he's like, this is the month they came out with to make us feel bad about ourselves. But yeah, speaking of the history, it's like black people in Africa sold other black people to the Dutch and the Portuguese and the Arabs and all kind of people. So it's like you're celebrating your own demise. Because they always talk about the struggle, right? the struggle, but you are already struggling in Africa under the arm of your own people. These African kings and queens, they already had you under their thumb. And if you go to Africa right now, if you do go back, they ain't gonna recognize you. They're not gonna welcome you with open arms. A motorcycle. I'm gonna pick my motorcycle up later. Yeah. But yeah, I just don't get what we're celebrating. Like, why do y'all think Malcolm X isn't mainstream and Dr. King is mainstream? Think about that. Because Malcolm X supported black people doing their own thing. You know, stand up, take care of yourself first, then we can branch out later to other groups, but we need to take care of home first. Whereas Dr. King pushed, we need something. We need help in order to pull ourselves up. We need the government to do something for us. Also, Malcolm X is not pushed the way King is because Malcolm X changed. He dropped his anger. He no longer hated the white man. Whereas if you think about it, Martin Luther King was actually divisive in the sense that he wanted the redistribution of wealth, and he pushed for basically socialism. And that's another reason why Booker T. Washington isn't celebrated, because he believed everybody should be a stand-up member of society. You should be of service. You should work using your skills. You should make your area a better place. So the people who are promoting do for yourself, work hard, those things, they're not in the forefront. But you always see victimhood today being pushed. And whenever they try to pass a law, they always try to use Martin Luther King's name. Dr. Martin Luther King believed. It's like, how long are y'all gonna use this man's name, and y'all just gonna keep digging that hole? Like, can the man rest in peace? You know what I mean? It's just old. Using him to pass more and more laws. And the black man isn't even the number 2 man in America anymore. He's the number 3. Because y'all keep voting all these illegals in, and all these other people from all over the world. So the black man pretty much has no voting power anymore. Because the black vote isn't even needed like that. And watch us be number 4 and number 5, because you got the Asian man coming in, you got the Africans coming in, which I guess they could count as black. You got the Arabs coming in. I just don't get what we're celebrating here. Alright, I'm home. The civil rights movement was used to divide and conquer, and to make new laws, basically to make the government bigger and bigger and bigger. And as a result, people are slaves to the government. So instead of being slaves on a plantation, people are now slaves to the government. And I think that's what the civil rights movement was all about. Finding a way to divide people, get them angry, and to find a way to get not just black people, but to get people on the government, period. Because the bigger the government is, the more tyrannical it is. And the more tyrannical it is, the more dangerous it is. So the civil rights movement was used to usher in basically communism. And they say, well, Greg, had that not happened, you wouldn't be able to vote and these things. That's a farce too, because in different areas, the Jim Crow laws were already coming to an end. You feel me? And people were getting along. Good people are good people and bad people are bad people. So the good people would have got together eventually because they already were getting together. And as far as the business goes, they would have got together due to business. Doing business together. So all those laws were out the door. But the communists used the stuff that was going on as an opportunity to stir up the pot. It's just crazy. We've been lied to about so much stuff, like, it's hard to even scratch the surface. It's crazy. Well, happy Black History Month. Peace.